Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ima Campazano. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a consultant with the Center for Autism and Related Disabilities, also known as CARD here at USF. I'm assigned to the adults team working with ages 14 and older. I hold a master's degree in clinical social work from the University of South Florida, and I live with a physical disability. I was born with spina bifida, and I use a leg brace and custom molded shoes to get around. I want to thank our panelists for joining us. I will introduce them for you. We have Shatiqua Pinkston, who has a heart to encourage individuals with disabilities through her life experiences. She was born with cerebral palsy and earned a Bachelor's of Science and Master of Science degree in computer science from the University of South Florida. She is also an entrepreneur, ordained minister, author of several self-help books, and a public speaker. As an entrepreneur, she designs websites, flyers, brochures, and other promotional materials for nonprofit organizations and small businesses. Shatiqua is the founder of Hidden Treasures Ministry, which works to empower people with disabilities. And she also serves on several other boards. Shatiqua believes that everyone has gifts and talents to share, despite whatever limitations that they may face. We also have with us today Travis Taylor, who has been with the Center of Independent Living Gulf Coast since 2020. Travis started out as the manager of vocational services, and has since moved into his current role of the director of programs and operations. Travis has worked as a vocational rehabilitation counselor in the state of Iowa, working with Iowa's largest public school district. Travis's educational background is a master's degree in rehabilitation and mental health counseling, which he pursued after acquiring a spinal cord injury in 2010. He has a passion to help those with spinal cord injuries and currently runs a role mentor program to provide advocacy, support, social and recreational opportunities for individuals who have sustained a spinal cord injury. And we also have William McKinley, who is an employee of the University of South Florida Libraries. He graduated from the University of South Florida with a bachelor's degree in history and a minor in anthropology. He currently serves as a research assistant in the Center for Digital Heritage and Geospatial Information, where he helps with faculty and students use the Digital Media Commons Lab and is assisting with multiple center projects, including those involving 3D modeling and historical settlement archaeology and historical research at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. Wow. Mr. McKinley is responsible for assisting the maintenance and operations in the 3D print lab, creating print-ready 3D models for processing and printing. He also helped on several software and data deliverable creation projects, including work on virtual tour development and processing 360 degrees and panoramic images for use with virtual reality and computer-based heritage tourism applications. His role as a research assistant in the center, he has managed to combine a passion for history with the ability to work on real-world solutions for historic preservation. He states that he enjoys seeing how technology can help bring artifacts to life and be shared and discovered through a variety of content available through the USF libraries. In this way, he is assisting with pioneering new ways for libraries to engage with and make digital content accessible. Thank you all so much for being here. So my first question is for Shatiqua. I want to ask, how did you get the job you're in now?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for this awesome opportunity. As I am a self-employed, so basically, after I completed college and started, I just started doing work on the side for different people, and then they would tell their friends, and so it kept growing, and here we are. I graduated in '98, and I'm still doing the same work. It has just increased word of mouth. I don't know if that answers your question. I got into computers at a younger age, junior high school, because I realized that computers allow me to express myself past my limitations with my hands. So I was able to express myself more fully and more freely.
Awesome. Thank you. Travis, same question. How did you get the job you're in now?
All right, my journey was a little bit different. I was working in the state of Iowa, like my bio said, as a vocational rehabilitation counselor. I got really sick of the snow and the cold weather, so I began looking at different opportunities. I was offered a couple different jobs, one over on the West Coast in San Diego. I was offered a vocational rehabilitation position actually in Naples, Florida. So I, kind of looked at the two. I chose Naples, Florida. So I actually moved down here to the state of Florida. I was buying my house. I was getting ready to start that job. However, some things were going on. It was getting prolonged. And actually, Kristen, who is in charge of the JPPAS program that we are going to be speaking of, had passed along an opportunity for a position at the Center for Independent Living. And that position came about, and it all turned out to be a blessing in disguise. And I actually interviewed with them, and I started 2 days later after that interview because I was here in Florida and I was ready to work. So it was actually just kind of the marketing and interviewing, and it just all really fell into my lap, which was, like I said, a blessing in disguise.
Thank you. Also, Will, same question. How did you get the job you're in now?
Yes. Hi, can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, I got this job by first applying through USF, and then with the help of Scott over in Card, he helped me apply for the job, as well as sorry, I'm a little nervous.
Me too, so that's okay.
So I've got into this job because I first applied for a job in special collections and went for that interview. And instead of using a traditional, okay, can you guys see me? Okay, sorry. Instead of using a traditional job interview, I did like a hybrid job interview where they walked me around the special collections and asked me questions. Instead of, sit down, ask these questions. It's more of like an interactive interview. And so I did that, and they decided that I'd be a lot better better geared towards the Digital Heritage and History Center, the DHHC, or the Geospatial Digital Heritage and Geospatial Information Center, or Center for Digital Heritage and Geospatial Informations. I don't know, they changed the name every few months, but so yeah, that's how I got this job.
Awesome. It kind of sounds like everyone is kind of saying when companies or other organizations are accessible or are accommodating people with disabilities can really excel in the jobs that they have. So my next question is for Shatikwa. What services did you use? You talked a little bit about technology, but what other services did you use when it came to employment, your job?
My services actually started back in college, just a little bit about college, because I did use vocational rehabilitation. They helped with wheelchair, which I needed to be able to navigate around USF campus. So that was, and then I used student disability services where they assisted with note takers for my classes and assisted with longer test times or people that could dictate for me. That was my main help for college. As I developed into my own businesses, I use keyboard adaptations, things like the mouse keys instead of them operating the actual mouse. I use mouse keys. I use just different apps or on my phone to make my phone easier to use. That's a big part of communicating with clients is using my phone, so different apps on my phone or different programs on my computer.
That's awesome. It kind of shows that, our accommodations are always changing. And we kind of got to use what's available or what we have so that we're able to do our jobs to the best of our abilities, right?
Right.
So, Travis, I have the same question for you. What services did you use?
You're muted, Travis.
All right, let me start over. All right, so I also use vocational rehabilitation services a lot through school. For me, as somebody that has a spinal cord injury, transportation was is one of the biggest barriers, right? So looking at hand controls, being able to be mobile when you're wanting to be mobile. So I worked with vocational rehabilitation on accessing an inaccessible vehicle for me, so I could drive with my wheelchair. So I didn't really have to use a lot of energy like transferring and doing different things because I wanted to put that energy towards work and working a full day. So with vocational rehabilitation, they were helping while in school. And then also, I needed a modified house, something that I could get ready for work. And, when you go home, you got to be able to access everything, to be able to cook, shower, everything from A, B, C. So what we got to do, we worked on that, getting the house modified. So vocational rehabilitation worked with me on making my house accessible. The next issue for me was also nursing services. So what's it look like getting a little bit of help? And I think we're going to be coming up on that question soon. But I really researched Florida and to see what was out there. A lot of other states have what's called Medicaid for employed people with disabilities. Florida does not have that, but what they have is the JPPAS program. It kind of acts as that. And it allowed me to receive services if I was working, and I'll explain that when we get to the question. But I use the JPPAS program, vocational rehabilitation, and then I also really just looked at other county resources. that were available because I was purchasing my house and there was a lot of services available that like forgave property taxes, tolls, different things like that. So when we were driving around, you know, you weren't spending a lot of money that could be focused on your living expenses.
Yes, thank you. We're really excited to hear more about JPAS, but stand by because that's coming up
Yeah.
in a little bit. But I think it just shows that folks with disabilities can be really great researchers. Because I think it was Scott who mentioned earlier that the world isn't exactly made for people with disabilities. So we kind of have to research and find things to see what's available to us so that we
Also-
can thrive.
Yeah,
Continue.
and lastly too, the Center for Independent Living where I work, you know, we talked about how we got the job. 51% of our employees and our board are people with disabilities. So they knew right away, like what accommodations I was going to need, and they were helping me with those services right away. So it was pretty smooth transition. They helped with some of the housing modifications as well. And then I researched a ton of, like you said, I researched a ton of different grants out there. Some of the stuff that like vocational rehabilitation wouldn't cover that I wanted in my house. You know, I would research grants for people with spinal cord injuries, and I just submitted like tons of those, and you know, was able and fortunate enough to receive some of those to put towards my house. So it was just kind of like a well-rounded approach that worked out.
Awesome. So I also want to ask William, what services did you use?
To get this job or in general?
Well, yeah, in your employment.
Okay, so the services that I used, obviously I used card and I used VR. Again, card and Scott were the main players in helping me get this job. VR did help, and but my degree is a very specialized degree, so it took a fair bit amount of sorry, it took a significant amount of time. There it is, significant amount of time to first of all find a job that would fit my degree. And so it took like probably about 2 years and multiple internships, probably about 3 or 4 internships before I found this job. And of course, in my field, you have to have a lot of internships and field experience before you can get jobs in the field of history and museums and all that. As for like what I use during my time here at USF, I use headphones, so noise canceling headphones in case like it gets noisy or just in general, so I can just drown out any background noise and focus on what I have to do or what I have to complete for the day. I also have a lot of doctor's appointments, so they usually allow me to work hybrid. So whenever I have a doctor's appointment, I usually work from home or work half day here, go to my doctor's appointment, and then work the rest of my day from home. And so, yeah, that's the services that I've used and I use at this job.
Thank you. I think something you said really, it highlights what Denise said earlier about employment, and it's not, you know, the first place you're going to work at is what you're going to stay at forever, and it takes time to realize where, you know, you fit in or what you like, and also to say that your degree is specialized is an understatement. I think I barely understand what you do for a living, so if you want to explain that to me one day, that would be great. But so we're going to move on to our next question. Shatikwa, did you receive any services from agencies in your area? And if so, can you talk about them?
Of course, my first agency was vocational rehabilitation until I completed my education. And now I receive services from the agency for persons with disabilities, APD, and they are very helpful for me just for everything living task, so that just like Travis said, half of having a disability is is that it takes more energy to accomplish the task at hand. So to have people there to help with the daily activities takes more energy to apply towards the job and the work at hand. So having people come in to help me with my ADL, my daily living activities helps me be able to focus more energy towards design and writing, doing websites and whatever. So having that really helps them. And also they help if I need help going somewhere to do a presentation or whatever, I have that transportation. Also, sometimes I do use Heart Plus when needed for transportation. So they're really another agency that's useful for those who are unable to drive themselves. Heart Plus is a door-to-door transportation service for individuals with disabilities, meaning they'll come to your house, pick you up, and drop you off at your at the place you need to be. So that's a really good agency resource to use also.
Awesome. Yeah, you gotta use what you can, right?
Right,
So
right.
Travis, I have the same question for you. Did you receive any services from agencies in your area? And if so, can you talk about them with us?
Yeah, I kind of answered this a little bit in the last question, but I'll kind of reiterate. So vocational rehabilitation for sure. The county here in Lee County, especially, they forgive anybody that has spinal cord injury. I think it's like half of your, if you're a para, you like half of your property taxes are forgiven. If you're a quadriplegic, all of your property taxes are given. So that was a nice service that was allowed. The Center for Independent Living helped with some of the modifications as well. So really those three allowed me to be able to purchase a house, be able to get to and from work, and have really the essentials to be successful living here in a new state completely, never having been in the area before. So it allowed me to feel comfortable enough and have that support, as well as the JPPAS program, which we are going to be getting to.
Yeah, thanks. That's great information. I didn't know about that. William, same question. Did you receive any services from agencies in your area? And if so, can you talk about them with us?
Okay, so job-wise, I had help from vocational rehab and card Scott. And outside of work, I drive. I have a modified car because I also have right side hemiplegic cerebral palsy. And so through, I think they're called Custom Mobility in Clearwater, I had my car modified to have everything on the left side. So that way I can, drive my car, obviously get around, be social. And so, yeah, that's about the only services that I've received.
Yeah, awesome. We have to, like I said to Shatikwa, we have to use what's out there so we can live our lives. So Travis, tell us about your experience with JPAS, please.
All right. So when I was moving here to Florida, I was really worried about getting the proper support for nursing. So I have somebody that helps me in the morning and evenings, just briefly. I don't need a ton of support, but it is enough support to be successful, supported, especially if somebody, living on your own with a disability. You want to be able to have a supportive team around you. So in a lot of the other states, I think Florida and Tennessee are the only two states that don't have it. It's called Medicaid for employed people with disabilities. You can pay a premium, get that Medicaid and feel supported and keep all your services and make up to a certain income. Right. So I was worried when Florida didn't have that. I was researching other programs. I came across the JPAS program and I was just blown away by what the details were and how amazing the program was. And it was really smooth because I don't know about your guys' experience, but calling a lot of places here in Florida, you don't get a lot of calls back. JPAS program, I called, somebody answered. I think it might've been Kristen right away. I know every email I sent, she was right on it, getting back to me. People were there. They were very communicative, and just, it was such a nice, kind of like process, seamless. It was like, all right, here, if you have a job offer, you got to fill these papers out. You can be on a list, and you had to have a spinal cord injury, right, to qualify. And you can't be making over a certain income. I think it's $200,000 now, and it'll allow you to hire your own aides. So a lot of times, even if you had like Medicaid or other insurances, you're going through a home health agency, you don't really get to pick your aides, and they're not the best aides. So here with the JPAS program, you can pick your aides, you can pick how many hours, up to $2,160. And if Kristen you can stop me if I'm like cutting off your presentation at all and sharing any of these details. But it was nice because you can pay your aides a wage that they're going to show up and do a decent job and be there to support you. So I got to hire like a team of really good support. I have 2 individuals that come in, and then the paperwork, you just fill it out as you go through the month. You're really collecting like the hours that they're there, how you're paying them, their contact information in case it gets audited. Of course, we all have paperwork to do, but it's not bad at all. You get reimbursed by the 15th of the month. So you spend your own money and then you get reimbursed. And so it was an amazing program that allowed me to move to Florida. Without that program, I was really nervous. I wouldn't have been able to move here. So I was so thankful that we are in support of it. And they keep increasing usually the wage that you can pay your support staff, and also the wage that you can make, just as things become more expensive. Obviously, cost of living in Florida is super high compared to the rest of the country. So they're able to adjust that. And it's a really, really great program. And most of all, you can get a hold of somebody if you have any questions and filling it out. And I'm very much in support of it, and anything they ever need, I would be willing to be there and share my experiences with them.
Yeah, that does sound like an awesome program, almost like too good to be true. But
yeah, exactly. I was like, is this really a thing? But it was really great because I had gotten signed up for that program, and then that's exactly when I got connected to the Center for Independent Living and became aware of them and ended up in my job now. So it was like like I said, shared earlier, it was kind of like a blessing in disguise because I get to now work for the Center for Independent, as well as kind of using some of their programs that they have there at, and it's an all around like holistic approach that makes you feel supported and appreciated as a person with disabilities.
Wow, wonderful. Thank you. My next question is for Will. Can you tell us about your experiences working at USF Library and the work you are doing as a research assistant in the Center for Digital Heritage and Geospatial Information?
So right now, well, first, working at USF Libraries, I really enjoy it. I really like the people I work with, and they're all very accommodating and understanding with my disabilities. And so I love it here. It's awesome. And now for what I do at the Center for Digital Heritage and Geospatial Information. So right now I am cleaning up 3D models from Cape Canaveral to be able to be printed via our 3D printer. And then I'm also working on scanning artifacts or scanning artifacts using digital photogrammetry. And so what that is we put it in like a light box, or just a light box is basically a box that is completely white, and we put the artifact in there, and we use like a turntable to turn the artifact while we take like hundreds of pictures of the artifact. And then after that, we create a data cloud, a point cloud, a wire mesh, and we use the photos as like the texture, and we match up the photos with the wire mesh and the I call them the innards of the 3D model. And then we patch all those together, clean up the model, and get it as realistic as possible. So like if there's a little crack in, say, a bowl, we try to make it so where you can see the texture of the crack. And then I'm also working with ArcGIS, doing what's that? I'm digitizing a map for a project in GIS and ArcGIS, and I also work with virtual museums. So what virtual museums are is we stitch photographs together and make it so where you can put on like a Oculus Rift, for example, a VR headset, and then you can use the controls to walk around. And sometimes they even come with, or we've even done stuff with like voiceover. So it's like a virtual museum with a docent tour. And so I don't know, I really like doing this type of stuff because, for example, this will always stay with me probably forever, but I was getting my car serviced at the Custom Mobility, and this guy in a wheelchair, and he had like he had no legs, and he saw that I had my one of my t-shirts on, and he was able, or he figured out that one of the virtual museums, or he didn't figure out, but he remembered that one of the virtual museums that he looked at, we did, and he was like, I'm so grateful for that. I was finally able to go up to the second story, because every time I go to that museum, the elevator is broken. So he was like, thank you. And that's, I don't know, that's why I take great pride in what I do and try to digitally preserve any and all artifacts and work on virtual museums, just because I like that the accessibility that with the work that I do allows people. I like the accessibility that it allows people to achieve.
That's amazing and very impressive. And I think I understand a little bit more what you do now. And speaking of impressive, my next question is for Shatikwa. Can you tell us a little bit about your experiences with designing websites and being an entrepreneur?
Yes, as a website designer, I design sites for a lot of nonprofits and churches and mainly a few small businesses. So I've gotten pretty good with using different bases for them, like Joomla and WordPress, and it makes it easier for my clients if they want to make updates themselves. They don't have to know HTML and the different programming languages. So I've really enjoyed using those platforms to design websites for my clients, and as an entrepreneur, I also write my own books, and I self-publish them, and I put them on Amazon. So that's another way of bringing income outside of the website to have my books that I've written. And so I learned how to design my own cover. I have friends who help me edit my books and make sure my layout is good, and then I've learned how to upload it on Amazon for others to purchase. Also, I take my books to different events, let's say in the family cafe. I can take them to events like that and sell them in person too. So that's a little another arm of entrepreneurship outside of the design, is the actual selling of a product that I do come up with, and I do also have my own nonprofit / ministry, Hidden Churches Ministries, where we reach out to individuals with disabilities, and help them to know that they do have gifts and talents and abilities, and to not only let them realize that they have them, but to also give them the opportunity to share their abilities. So our events, we call outreaches. We may have people singing or share their life story or testimony. The last event we allowed the people who came to design their own cards. And so we took they designed their own greeting cards, decorate the inside of the card, and then we were able to take those same cards and take them to an assisted living. So we had people with disabilities being able to give and to share what from their abilities.
What don't you do? You design your own books, you write your own books, you promote your own books, you uplift people with disabilities. You do all of it. You do everything. So my next question is for Travis. What would you recommend to folks looking to pursue employment? And also, what questions should they be asking agencies or providers? And where should they start?
I always recommend if somebody has a disability and they're looking for employment, starting with vocational rehabilitation is always a solid start. If you're going to need some accommodations, especially as like a vocational rehabilitation counselor, what I would tell people is when you're thinking about it, it's how you're going to get a job, how you're going to prepare for that job, get to that job, be successful on the job, and how to get home from the job. So if you're looking at it at that process, what are you going to need along the ways? Make a list of that, and then that will help you be successful. So if you get that list and say, I'm going to need hand controls because I need to drive, well, I'm going to need an accessible mouse and a desk. All right, well, where are we going to start with that? Are we going to be working at home? Where are we going to be working in an office? So that making that list of X, Y, and Z really helps. And that's a good starting point. And then really looking at resources around your community that can help, because vocational rehabilitation isn't the fastest process to get started. So you definitely want people to get started with them sooner rather than later. So looking at other resources like the Center for Independent Living in your area. Here in Florida, there's a Center for Independent Living that covers every county. So they may be able to have some funds that could assist you or provide you with the durable medical equipment that may be necessary to be successful. And then asking questions. If I was going into an interview, I always think of it as I'm interviewing that person as much as they're interviewing me. So at the end of it, I'm really asking them like, who's been most successful here? Have you had anybody with significant disabilities that has been successful? What accommodations could you offer me? And I'm really upfront about that because I go in there with a physical disability. I'm not hiding my disability. So I can say like, hey, you can look at my resume and you can see my consistency and my good work history. I'm going to be a good employee, but you know, as much as the culture and the atmosphere, that means as much to me as like how much you're going to get paid and where you're going to be supported. So those are the top things that I would recommend starting with. And what supports were most effective for me? I would say really the JPPAS program, because I wouldn't have been able to move here first off. And vocational rehabilitation, just because of the hand controls, modifying the house. You know, those are things that for people with physical challenges, limitations, you really need those to be successful all around.
Awesome recommendations. Thank you. Travis, I have the same question. Not Travis, William, I have the same question for you. What would you recommend to folks looking to pursue employment, and what questions should they be asking agencies, providers, and where should they start?
Well, like Travis said, start with VR. I would also look for me, I would look for more specialized employment specialists. So like like card, for example. Really whatever you're looking for in a career, see if there's, resources out there, see if there's a job coach out there that has that capability. So for example, during my internships, I worked with a company called Hands On, and that's who handled my internships, and then Card handled my employment needs. And sorry, what was the other question again?
Just your opinions on what folks looking for employment, what recommendations you have, and what questions should they start with?
Well, for me, I don't really look at pay. I look at how I enjoy the job. I always say that if you enjoy your job and you're very passionate about your job, the money will come. It doesn't matter what job you do. If you, put in the work, grind, and like just be consistent, show that you want to be there, show that you want to learn, then I always like to say, just let your work ethic and work, define you. Don't let a disability define you. We're more than like we're more than, for example, me, I'm more than an autistic person. I'm more than, I'm more than all of my disabilities. My disability is just one characteristic of me. It's not who defines me, and it's not like what, it's not what defines me. I'm more than that. So I'd like to show people that, we can do that. We can do it.
Absolutely, I completely agree with you. Thank you. Shatiqua, I have the same question for you. What would you recommend to folks looking to pursue employment, and what questions should they be asking agencies or providers? Where should they start?
For me, I'm gonna turn it to say self-employment, because I do believe that individuals with disabilities, we can own our own businesses, and that does give us more flexibility. Number one, if we need to, we can work from home. Number two, we're flexible in hours, so it allows us to around our supports or doctor's appointments, or maybe there are some days when we're not feeling our best. Those days we can work more slowly, take more breaks, and then when we feel better, we can catch up. So that's really good. For me, I work for my clients, so having clients who do understand me, or the fact that it may take me a little bit longer to accomplish my job, but in the end, my job will look as professional as anyone else. So having for me the right people, the right clients, and then the right support and the flexibility to work with with my needs as someone with a disability is vital in accomplishing what I need. Also, word of mouth, I believe is another bit saying even if you are looking for a traditional job, having word of mouth so someone knows another person that either needs your services or your skills, they can speak up for you and say, I know this person, they have these skills and oh yeah, they, it's a set, if it comes up, yes, they do have a disability, but basically having people that will promote your skills, having the right support group, friends, family, skills. So I believe it's more than just an agency, but it's also those relationships, that social capital around you that's very important.
Thank you. That's a good point. I agree. So with our last few minutes left, and we want to try to leave room for some questions if folks have questions, can you tell us briefly, Shatikwa, what supports were most effective for you?
My biggest support, I have to say, it is my family and friends. I think I just said that, and I say it again. Vocational rehabilitation was helpful agency for persons with disabilities, but those agencies, they can come and they can go, but when you have friends and family, I mean, they can come and go too, but they're more, how can I say it? They're more confident than in some cases than an APD. I realize that everyone doesn't have family support, but maybe they have support from friends or from church or from their organization that they're a part of, just that natural support in whatever form it is vital and to develop that natural support.
Thank you. And William, can you briefly tell us what supports were most effective for you?
Yeah, so my most effective support is my family, my friends, people that believe in me. So Scott, Card, VR. I use them as support to, flourish in my career and whatever I do. So yeah, that's what supports are most effective for me.
Awesome, thank you. Same question, Travis, what supports were most effective for you?
Always forgetting about that mute button. Okay, so well, VR was really effective. The JPPAS program, my family was great supports, even through like acquiring my injury, just the supportive environment that they gave me to succeed. My friends, moving down here, I had really great coworkers too. So just building those relationships with them. The Center for Independent Living, they provide that peer mentorship and really work on like independent living skills. So if you were connected with them, I highly recommend reaching out, because most likely they can connect you with somebody that has a similar type of disability. If you are kind of wondering what experiences they may go through. So, you know, it was helpful to connect with other people that had spinal cord injuries around the area to know accessible recreational opportunities, restaurants, you know, fun things like that. So they were very great with that aspect. And then I guess I talked a little bit about it. Not like the most successful, but it's helpful, is the county resources. Check your county for things if you are going to be like owning a house or looking at other ways to purchase like property or things like that. I know that's not feasible for everyone, but with rising rent costs here, we got to look at affordable housing. So it's almost cheaper to buy something than to continue paying for rent. So looking at ways like that, and looking at that holistic approach.
Thank you. So we want to thank Shatikwa, Travis, and William for being here with us today and for sharing all your experiences and your stories. We really appreciate listening and hearing what you have to share with us. And with that, I will ask Denise if there were any questions for the panelists.
If you have any questions, please type them into the Q&A or into the chat. I just want to let you guys know that Hector says all three of you are the living proof. That is when there is a will, there is a way. It's been a privilege to learn about your experiences. Thank you for sharing. Jacqueline Brown says, Shatikwa, Travis, and William, you all have amazing jobs. Thank you for your time. Everyone says thank you for sharing, and we got some hearts and other emojis throughout your presentation. So thank you all very much.
Please visit our website for more information about our programs, projects, and how you can get involved.